Friday and almost done with the week, and what a week it has been with so many headlines, so much stuff going on. Work Trucks bringing you the show this hour. TRUX. Do a lot of spelling on the show because sometimes we have these creative websites and they spell trucks like TRUX, Work Trucks. They sell commercial trucks, business trucks, trucks ready to get out there and get it done for whatever you've got going. When you don't need a fancy one, you just need a hard-working one and one that's ready to move and is priced right. That's just true. They go out, basically, their business models go to the pre-owned market, to the off-lease market, where these things have been lightly used so these companies can turn them back in. And then they bring them back to Birmingham after they get them at market at good prices, bring them back here, and then they fine-tooth comb them. 125 points, everything has to be right. They're really strict on their standards, too. They're just not going to put a truck out there that they don't know is 100% ready. And that keeps their reputation that they built all these years going. So that's a lot of work. This isn't like, say you want a Toyota something, and you can find those everywhere. I mean, you can get online and find a personal car. These are specialty trucks, are a little more hard to find, especially the good ones that have been beaten to death. And they've done all that work for you. And they bring them back here, and once they're combed out and good to go and shined up, they put them on the lot. It looks like a brand new truck dealership. So, but if you're in business and you need a specialty van, a service van, a plain old cargo van, a passenger van, a box truck, and all the stuff in between, the regular pickups, the outfitted pickups, dualies, regular cabs, all these things, they're all down there. Crew cabs, serviced, inspected, fresh tires if they need them, ready to go, finance opportunities for you if you need that, and or extended warranties. Sometimes with a pre-owned, you're going to want to have some coverage. Then get out there and get to work. That's your job. Your job is not to manage your fleet, be fooling with that all the time. Your job is to do your thing. So do your thing this year, and let's make some money in 2026. It's Work Trucks, TRUX, WorkTrucksLLC.com, WorkTrucksLLC.com. Man, it's a busy, busy Friday night. I'm going to start all the way back at the top where we were at 2 o'clock. Not much has changed. So let's get you filled in, and then we can blow the phone lines open and get more of the phone calls in here for the rest of Friday. We'll start with the weather because that's the most immediate concern. We just got an advisory from the Weather Service, a flood advisory until 5:45 because it's coming down. The intense part of it where we are, close to downtown here in the Homewood area, it just got really real on the outside. And there are going to be waves of this all night long. The system, this frontal boundary just stalled out right over Birmingham. It's just sitting there, and the rain is riding along that front between the warm and the cooler air, and so it's just training through there. And so as you look into the evening, I'll put this thing in motion and describe it to you. A little heavy downpour right now for us, and then more it picks up tonight. West Alabama getting inundated. Even Fayette County on the future radar with a lot of rain, just back to back to back over the next 6 hours. And this is going to go overnight. It's going to go into the morning. You could hear thunder and see a little bit of lightning as it rolls through. The big concern, of course, as you've heard about for days now, is the rain, and we could get several inches of it. Some of you 2 or 3 inches, some of you in excess of 5 inches, and who knows what by the time it's done. So, and it's the amount of rain in a short amount of time that has the Weather Service so concerned. So, again, I went through some of this last hour, but have a way to be awakened by weather alerts tonight, not really for the severe weather, even though when this stuff was back into Mississippi, it did turn up some trouble. We had a couple of tornado warnings earlier today from this stuff, but it got a lot better as it moved toward us. It's just a lot of heavy rain. But, again, if you're in a flood-prone area, and we've got them all over town, I can almost tell you after how many years have I been in this town now? 30-plus years of covering weather and being in part of this stuff, exactly where it always floods. You got that spot down in Vestavia about where all the car dealerships are that used to be the Vestavia Mall. They're downtown Leeds every now and then we'll get it.
Yep.
There's a spot down here in Homewood right off Lakeshore, a whole apartment complex. One time I was chest deep in water covering that one years ago, and it still has a problem.
Yeah.
In some of these areas, they've managed to ameliorate it and channel it and get that stuff moved out, but some it's still chronic all over town. A couple places around Tarrant will get bad. Some places out toward West End. It's really the creeks and the low areas. So look out for it. It's coming through.
Just take your time, and if you see water, just be mindful. Just an inch of water can just push you away too.
No
so
doubt.
just be mindful of that.
What do they say? Turn around, don't drown.
Yeah. Now look. Now this didn't happen here. This happened when I was in Texas, in the Dallas area. And in Dallas, it turns into a monsoon. There was a golf course, not too far from where I used to live, where it rained just like this, and the golf course looked like a lake.
Oh yeah. This is that kind of weather.
And then like, okay, so there was this ramp, and then it was a ramp that goes down, and then it's an underpass that goes under the highway, and then you can get to the other side to go back up the highway, right?
Is that over around First? Is what you're talking about? That little dip?
Well,
Or
no,
where-
no.
where is this?
This was in Texas where I used
Oh,
to
okay.
live.
I'm sorry.
And
I
I'm
missed
just
that part.
no, and so I was driving one day, and it just rained like how it is now, and you talk about flash flood and how quickly it just comes down, and the water is just so saturated, and it just not soaking up that water just yet. Well, normally you can see a stop sign. The stop sign is what 6 feet tall or something like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty
6
high.
or 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how this lady decided to commence to drive down this ramp, and then notice the water was still rising, but somehow she still went down.
Did it anyway.
Luckily, she was on the top of her car, and they were, I saw the rescue workers like helping her out, but I'm like, how did you do that?
It's deceiving, and people. It looks like a foot of water, and you just think, "Oh, I'm going to drive through that." Next thing you know,
Yeah.
you're floating, and you don't know how to get out of your car, and you can't push the door up. And it happens fast.
Yeah.
I've seen this so many times, and that's why a foot of water, if it's moving, can move your whole car. It
Yeah.
can float your car. That's all it takes. 12 inches of water, your car is now not in your control. So just don't even take that chance. Even if you think you know the road, you probably don't understand the depth of it.
Yeah.
I mean, my own yard is like that. There's part, it'll get flooded out, and I forget how deep it is. I'll look and go, wow, that's 2 feet deep.
Yeah. Oh, and here's another thing. If you're using your flashers to
Yeah.
drive and
Yeah,
you can't
don't
see,
do that. Don't do
please don't do that.
Don't do that on the road when it's
Yeah.
raining. It's distracting, and that's not what flashers are
That's
for.
not what it's for. And then because that is for like hazardous, meaning like
Yep.
you're stuck and you can't move. So you're warning people that you're in a situation that they need to move over
When you're stopped.
when you're stopped.
Yes.
If you're driving and you have your flashes on, just if you can't see, just move over. Like just park under one of the park somewhere safely. And then once the weather kind of lights up and then you feel comfortable driving, then get back on the road. But don't do that while you're driving.
I had to do that. Was it yesterday? We were going to lunch and got to the top of Oak Mountain, and it was so foggy. All the traffic had stopped at that red light right there at Highland Lakes, and I thought I heard that in the traffic report a second ago. It's so foggy on the upper elevations. And so traffic just suddenly came to a stop. I got my truck to a stop, but I knew the cars coming up on me didn't know that it's just suddenly bad. So I put my flashers on, and I think it helped the car behind me slow down in time to not have a chain reaction. And it's a little bit foggy out there too, in addition to all this stuff. And just as we're talking about this, the National Weather Service has just put a warning out. So let's just run through that real quick. We'll come and go with this stuff. These warnings are going to be spot warnings in specific areas. There'll be general advisories, but this one just came out for southeastern Jefferson County. Okay, it goes until 5:45, and it's let's see, at 4:10. It's about 3 minutes ago. Doppler radar indicated heavy rain across the warned area. Between 1 and 5 inches of rain have fallen already in that spot, with a whole night to go of this stuff. Flash flooding is ongoing and expected to begin shortly. They're saying that the flash flooding is caused by the heavy rain. It's real formulaic. It says the source is radar. So let me just give you the impact warning. It says flash flooding of small creeks and streams, urban areas, highways, streets, underpasses, and all that. Here's some of the locations. This is what I was trying to get to. So listen up if you're out there moving around. Hoover, Birmingham, Vestavia, Bessemer, Homewood, Pelham, Mountain Brook, Trustful, Helena, Hueytown, Irondale, Leeds, Fairfield, Fultondale, Centerpoint, Pleasant Grove, Tarrant, Midfield, Brighton, Lipscomb. And then there's some more specific areas. They're talking about the drainages, like 5 Mile Creek's going to flood tonight, Rock Creek, Valley Creek, Lick Creek, Mill Creek. I could keep going. There's probably 30 creeks on here. If you live near a creek and you're basically in this listening area, this is the beginning of it. And I'm not trying to overstate things, but it's going to be one of those nights. So just know what you're doing. And look out for your neighbors, especially if you know somebody that's kind of homebound or elderly and in these spots. Sometimes, I have these flashbacks of covering floods. Most of the flooding I've covered came after tropical storms and hurricanes, where it's sudden onset. But I've covered quite a few where the rain was just crazy and saturated. And while we do need it to catch up on some sort of drought, sub-drought conditions, it's gonna be one of those nights. So be careful, everybody. Be careful. Slow it down as we are approaching darkness. Outside is just going to make things worse. All right, now the story of the day so far is back to Minnesota. This story's kind of wearing me out, but there's a new video out. Came out right before we came on the air. I need to do a walkthrough on that again. It is the in-person, or I guess first-person camera on the officer that pulled the trigger on this angry woman, and we got a lot more context about her too, both from this video and her past today. And the video shows, and we're going to play you the audio, but I've got to kind of walk you through it first and let you hear how it sounded if you haven't seen this already. So as you know, they've got the body cams on, and this is a point of view kind of camera from the officer himself. And he is 100% being harassed by both of these lesbians. It's supposed to be her wife, whatever. So you got Plaid Woman. She's out in the street taunting the officer in a number of ways. This is the voice you'll hear as the video gets rolling. The officer, you hear other officers approach the driver's side. Our officer's on the passenger side with this woman that looks like an angry 15-year-old boy in a plaid jacket yelling at him. And then he runs around toward the front of the car. The other officers are trying to get her to stop and remove herself. She's been blocking traffic for at least 3 or 4 minutes by now. And then you hear her hit him, and you see her eyes, and you look at the slow-mo. She's looking straight at him. She's gunning the car toward the cop. She hit the cop. The cop pulls his weapon and ended her life. Now, as we've covered this, and I've tried to show some decorum and say all the trite phrases you're supposed to say. Well, it's always a tragedy. Wow, how sad. I'm kind of over that. Can I just be real with y'all? This woman is not sympathetic to me. She hates this country. She left this country and moved to Canada. She came back here to join a militant group called Ice Watch, calls herself a warrior with her lesbian wife. They abandon their child, take a dog, get out in the middle of traffic, and mess with our officers all day long, taunting them, confronting them, maybe assaulting them. We don't know what happened in the hours that led up to this. In this moment, there's zero sympathy for her. She's not trying to escape. They're trying to create a confrontation, and they got one. And maybe it's extreme to say she had it coming, but she invited this herself. She is dead because of her own actions, and the woman with her should be charged as an accomplice in this thing. She even says, you can hear it in the audio. She says, "Drive, baby, drive." You can barely hear it, but you'll hear it when I play this, when AJ plays this audio. And it's right before the collision. You hear "Drive, baby, drive" real quick. Within a half a second, you hear the collision, then you hear 2 shots. So she was egging her own. She got out of the car. That woman refused to move. Then she gunned it. That's not an escape. If it was an escape, the other Batman would be in there with her, right? These guys are flannel-ridden superheroes in their own minds, and they have picked a cause that is against the laws of this country. They were breaking laws when that happened. Put it this way. Let me put it this way. If the roles are reversed, and it's the officer that died because he could have, if they had hit him and killed him, she'd be eligible for the death penalty because she would have killed somebody in the commission of another crime. Yet the left has for days now tried to make her a martyr. They're burning stuff in Minnesota. These people are fact-free protesters. They're fact-free, violent people. And what we also know is this Ice Watch group, which is now under federal investigation, they behave and deploy and act and get in the streets just like a terror organization. They're no different than Antifa. It's the same tactics. And they confront with violence our law enforcement officers, and we have to stand behind them. They've got an important job to enforce the laws of this country. The only reason they have to do it is because of other lawlessness of letting these folks in here. While they're here, they've committed their own amount of lawlessness with the graft and corruption and the theft, particularly right here from the Somali community that's being confronted this week in the news. Then don't get me started on the gangbangers, Trinidad, Aragua. We'd never heard of these people. All of these gangs that have popped up from different parts of Central and South America that are now being rounded up and kicked out. By the way, there were two more of them shot yesterday in Portland last night after we left the air. Same thing. This guy was a child molester and a violent person, was caught, tried to hit the officers. It's pretty cut and dried there. Pop, pop, two people get killed. Sorry about that. That's how it's going to be. These people cannot be continued to allowed to get in the streets and disrupt these operations. And if they do, they're going to pay for it. And this mayor and this governor are responsible too. I think they should be tried alongside her accomplice, her life partner, whatever the hell that was. I think they're just as culpable. They're more culpable than the officer that pulled the trigger. And there is no, let me just say this as clear as I can. It is indisputable. There is no gray area. It is not subject to the eye of the witness. It is a flat fact. She tried to hit this, or she did hit this officer with her vehicle, and under every standard of federal law, he was justified in pulling that trigger. And the same thing, Minnesota has no jurisdiction to investigate this, and they wouldn't be impartial investigators anyway. Their own leadership started convicting these officers in a news conference minutes after this happened to exploit the opportunity to enrage their followers and really cover for their corruption in that city. They used this as a fig leaf to change the media headlines. That's not going to work for them. There are new investigations going on everywhere of this corruption, and we're not going to let up. We're going to investigate these people. I hope some of them go to prison for their theft, and the ones that don't, if they try to confront these officers and hurt them, they need to be shot every day. It wouldn't bother me. Is that mean? Is that cold-blooded? Probably. As long as it's legal, these guys are defending themselves. They've got to do this job. And it's not ICE that's making the community terrorized. It's the community. It's these people that are not even from there. She's not from Minnesota. She came there to do what she did. They dressed up in their costumes, got in their little SUV, and went there to do exactly what they did, and she got killed. There is no sympathy in that whatsoever. Man, if you hear the left, the last 2 days, it's like, oh, she's a poet and a mom. Two of her kids got taken away from her in the past. I don't know how she managed to keep the last one. The poor kid, his life was surrounded by chaos. And I'll even say this, he's probably better off without this woman in his life. Sending him to some woke social justice school, this kid's going to be screwed up for the rest of his life. Maybe his father or some responsible person, whoever the sperm donor was, or somebody can get in there and help this kid get some direction. And there does need to be prayers for this kid. No matter what she was like, that was his mama. But this woman was a maniac, and so was her partner. And I hope they drop the hammer on them for good and go after everybody that was part of this and make an example out of it, because this stuff cannot continue to be allowed. We put up with enough of it. We put up with these kind of tactics for at least the last 5 or 6 years. And if they go out and practice and train and communicate and deploy and then go create these confrontations, they're the ones at fault. They're the lawless ones. They're the ones breaking the law. There's nothing First Amendment about what this woman was doing. Nothing. Nothing in the First Amendment covers her. This isn't free speech. This is political, tactical violence in our streets and interrupting law-abiding officers doing their jobs. This guy's been doxxed today. Somebody's put up a picture of his house and the location of it, even if it's correct. He's now got to look over his shoulder and look out for whoever his family is for years now. And it's not his fault. He was doing what we asked him to do. It's an absolute outrage. And this sawed-off mayor, can I just completely be a redneck right now? If I could just get 5 minutes in a room with him. Are you understand what I'm saying? You know, he should have had his ass whooped maybe in the 5th, 6th grade, could have corrected him a little bit, taught him some humility. It's never too late. And that's the men I grew up around would say, never too late to adjust him. Back in a minute. All right, I got ramped up in the last segment and forgot to play that sound for you. AJ, let's just roll that real quick. This is sort of the end of it as the confrontation starts. So they're approaching the car from the passenger side. This is the officer has to get out of his car to go toward that car. And Big Bad Mama gets out with her phone and starts messing with the cop.
I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former. You wanna come at us?
This is supposed to be the
You wanna
wife.
come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Whoa!
You heard her say, drive, baby, drive. You heard, oh, that's when he got hit. Boom, he gets hit. Pop, pop. She was looking right at him. All right, y'all. Alabama Bass bringing you the show tonight, too. Mike and his family ready to help you with those bathroom projects. One of the things we've told you about them, in addition to how long they've been in business and how the whole company can come in and do a whole bath project for you if that's what you need. In addition to that, we've talked a lot about the tub shower replacements, where you tear out the tub, put in a new stand-up shower system, easier to get in and out. But they also do tub-to-tub replacements. Some of you just want a new bathtub. You like taking a tub bath every now and then, or you got little kids and that's how you get them taken care of at night. But that old tub's kind of had enough and it's out of date and nasty. You know, that wet space underneath it and what's behind those walls, what's moldy back there, pretty disgusting. John over there at Alabama Baths has showed me some pictures of late of some of the projects, and it's amazing the transformation of just getting a new tub replaced. And this is not one of those cover-up deals where they come and put some plastic over the top of your current tub. They're going to tear it out and build it back right and take care of all that and do their best to give you their best price and get it done. It's a very, very quick price, and it's custom fit. And these folks, again, with 40 years in business and employees, they've got some folks that work for them in the shop and out there installing that have been there for decades too. So they're going to treat you right. They want to be there in the long run, and this is not some corporate outfit that's just trying to put a sales tactic on you. They're going to fix your bathroom. It's alabamabass.com. Y'all reach out to them to get those projects done in the new year if you've got something planned, alabamabass.com. One of the things that could help with that, let me switch gears away from this lunacy out in Minnesota for a minute and talk a little bit about the other good news. I really started the show with this because I think, and it sounds corny, but it's true, this story about the interest rates and the energy discussion that we had earlier in the show will affect your life much more than anything else going on in the news right now. And the headline was, as we came to air, pretty good economic numbers coming in, again, with inflation being completely in check. I think I saw one number where the Atlanta Fed has a growth projection of 5.4%. We're getting close to 6% growth. Y'all, that's how we get caught up from the high prices under the inflation under Joe Biden. They dump money in the system, forced the interest rates up, forced inflation up with that money dump. Again, what was the money dump for? Now you're finding out, going to all these foreigners and paying for their lifestyle and their transportation, and thugs in Somalia, and there was no accountability off that money dump. There was so much of it, it was not even tracked. And then it started wrecking our economy. Well, now we're reversing all that. The normal people are in charge that understand the business fundamentals and basic economics. And having control of your own industry, having better trade deals, cutting off the chaos at the border, getting crime under control, these are fundamentally good things for the country. And then, of course, getting energy under control. The Venezuelan move was all about that, reestablishing our ability to not be manipulated by energy prices, especially by thug countries like Iran and OPEC and other places. Now we control 55% of the oil supply in the world. Not that we own Venezuela, but they're in partnership with us now. Today, Trump had a roundtable with dozens of the biggest executives in the industry, kissing his butt. They all want a piece of this. The world's about to have more oil than it can burn. Hallelujah. Climate is not going to change. The temperature of the earth is not going to increase because of any of this. It never has. That's a hoax. And so back to the interest rate. So Trump made a move yesterday where he announced that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have a surplus, and they're going to use that surplus to buy up mortgage bonds and put downward pressure on the interest rates. They ain't even executed that yet. And today they got below 6% on the averages, on the FHA loans and some of the VA loans. I read a number today where some of the VA loans were averaging 5.4. Now we're in the 5 territory where psychologically it's the lowest it's been since 22. And it was about 22 when they started doing all the spending and wrecking everything. So we're getting rates back to a reasonable level. That's going to help rent. It's going to help mortgages. It's going to help all the lending in the country. And then the other numbers that are supposed to be there as guidelines for the Federal Reserve to adjust its target rate are now coming in. And based on historical analysis, I'm trying not to get too geeked out about it, but most of the experts, I'm not claiming to be, I'm relaying what I read from the experts. Most of the experts in economics are saying that the Fed has plenty of justification for moving the rates down a full basis point in either in the next meeting or the next two meetings. And if that's the case, within just a couple of short months, we could shave another percentage off the interest rate. So today it came in under 6, 5.99 in some places. Let's do some math. Knock another point off with the next adjustment or two. And now we're below 5%. You're now talking about people possibly getting 4.9, 4.7, 5.2. That kind of rate doesn't scare people if you're sitting on 3.5 or sitting on a 4% loan now, but you need to make a move. It's time to sell. It's time to do an equity loan. It's time to cash out or whatever you want to do in the mortgage world. Now there's not a financial punishment by the interest rates to make those moves. And so that unlocks a lot of things. It unlocks movement, which creates other movement. When somebody decides to sell to buy it, that's two transactions, right? So you get more activity in the markets. That creates a better marketplace for consumers. There's more inventory that gets put online because people are willing to now come off those homes and sell them to do those moves. That increases supply and it feeds the demand. That helps the rental market. And by the way, with Trump deporting millions of these freeloaders out of this country that are using our government to jam up rent rates all over this country, you're lowering demand. So now we've got an increase in supply and housing and a lower demand. Well, it's headed there. It's not quite there yet, but that's the goal. That becomes more reasonable. It becomes more tenable if you're 25, 35 years old and you thought all this stuff was out of reach. And then you add the growth number to it. You add that 5.4 from the GDP, and now we're outgrowing the inflation, and that's when things become affordable again. Yeah, it may look stupid that eggs are $8 or whatever, but now you're making the money to pay it, and it's not as punitive. And especially if we get gas down in the low twos, that starts to look better for people. The 401ks are going through the roof at the moment. I'm not saying all this is going to last. Things cycle. No matter who the president is or what the policies are, economies are living, breathing things because they're made up of living, breathing people making decisions every day in their lives. That's what an economy is, making choices, buy or don't buy, sell or don't sell, whatever it is, a waffle or a house. We're buying and making these decisions that are hopefully mutually beneficial. And when there's equilibrium there, everybody wins. The economy wins. It's because capitalism works. The freedom to decide works. Trump's also, as we talked about for the last 2 days, pressuring to get these institutional guys out of the housing market. Thomas talked to us about that a couple of nights ago, and if he comes on tonight, I want to talk to him about that again. But yeah, you get these institutional investors out, and now they're not outbidding people in their own neighborhoods for houses, and it's more upward pressure on single family. You don't want to ban businesses from being able to buy apartment buildings. I was in that business for a while in commercial real estate. There's a wisdom to allow companies to be able to do that. There are huge retirement programs, these real estate investment trusts. We used to call them REITs. That's the acronym. They go out and build huge complexes, both shopping centers and apartment complexes and all kinds of real estate. And that kind of investment's good. It's good for the retirees and where their funds are placed. It's good for the real estate market. But with single family, you can't have 800-pound gorillas coming in and bumping everybody around and artificially inflating the prices. So little by little, there's such optimistic signs. And today we got a whole set of them, both on energy and housing. And it's absolutely can be traced directly to the policies of the White House. This isn't just happening. They're forcing it. They're forcing it against the will of Jerome Powell and the Fed. They're forcing it against the world who would have us just sit back and be lackeys on energy or chase mouse fart green dreams with our energy production. At the same time, we're trying to ramp up AI and be competitive in that space. By the way, you don't even hear them talking about climate change anymore. The left will move on so fast. They have preached to us for 30 years about how it's going to get us all killed, and they've all just quit talking about it. They quit talking about Epstein too, didn't they? And they probably won't be talking about this jackass that tried to kill the cop by next week either. There'll be something else. They protest for the sake of protest. And here we are, while all that nonsense is going on, that's what you get from the Democrat Party. Watch Minnesota. You get stolen money, corruption, lies, crazy news conferences, lunatics in the streets, violence. And then you look over into Washington. What do we have? A gigantic round table full of people providing our energy, saying that the future is bright. Hallelujah. Good guys are in charge. Don is on a cell phone. What's up, Don?
Hey, buddy. Hey, about an hour and a half ago, I was stuck in the traffic. It took me an hour to get through Birmingham. But I'm driving to Memphis. But you said two things. One thing I agree with. The other one, I almost agree with.
Okay.
You said, talking about the thieves in Minnesota, stealing the money and all the stuff, you said they're either major crooks or they're really stupid. Yeah, there's a lot of stupid ones in there. The stupid ones are the ones we're going to see get caught, like Tim Waltz and all those idiots. But there's some really smart guys behind the scenes on their side that are extremely intelligent to be able to steal $19 billion of money for them. So there's somebody we'll probably never catch, and they're out there. The only ones who could catch them probably would be Elon Musk or Doge. Get some of those guys on them, but. Yeah, but you're correct and not correct. Yeah,
well, no, I can agree with that. I can agree with that. That was more of an absolute statement, but yeah, you're right. There's some. It took people smart enough to go, hey, don't just write a check, put it in crypto, and get the money out of the country, or let's take piles of cash and export it that way. Yeah, that was. Yeah. I guess it was smart.
If I were a crook, man, I'd be looking up to those guys. It's like, wow, they're impressive.
But are they really? Because it reminds me of the Louvre. You remember when they broke in the Louvre and just stole all those jewels right in front of everybody with a couple of power tools from a hardware store?
Correct.
That's kind of what these guys did. It wasn't very sophisticated because nobody was looking. Now, granted, they were paying off people and bribing them and giving them campaign contributions, but no, you got a TSA every day, and I guess maybe I was talking about them more than anything, watching $1 million a day that's declared, and no red flags go up in the whole government that $1 million in cash is going out of the country every day from these people that are faking daycare centers and child care centers. It's just going right out of the country. Nobody looked. So how sophisticated did you have to be to get away with it?
Well, yeah, you're right. You're right. Oh, on another thing you just said, I just passed last night in Memphis. I passed a gas station that's $1.99.
Oh, really? Okay.
Regular.
Haven't seen that around here, but yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, it's getting low up there. I try to fill up in Memphis every night.
You know,
it's amazing. My gas went from $50 to now I'm paying like $40.
Oh, wow.
Because I gassed up here.
You know, out in Oklahoma, there was a price out in Oklahoma today at $1.62. They're just closer to the production. So as the closer you get to the refineries, generally, except for in some of the cities, you can save money on the supply, right? And so the cheapest prices in the countries are already down to the $1.60 area.
Yeah.
All right, Don.
I look forward to that.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Have a good one.
Yep. Good call. That's how you do it right there. Let's get optimistic and scratch our chins and look at the sky and go, I think I'm finally going to build that pool. This could be the year. When I first started talking about Gary Levesque, I used to say, I'm going to be grandfather of the year and build a swimming pool so I can compete with the other grandparents for my grandkids' love and affection. AJ, did I tell you the story about the microphone yet?
No, you have not told me that.
I don't have permission to post it yet, and I hadn't posted anything in like a month, but my little redheaded precious granddaughter, she climbs up in my lap. This is a true story. And she, at Christmas, I went to see him to take the gifts, and she's sitting there talking to me. She loves her pops, right? She comes right to me every time. She owns me. And so she curls him in my lap, and she whispers to me, I thought I had told this story on the air. I said, what are you going to get for Christmas? She said, a microphone so we can be twins. What? And then her mom and dad, she did get it. It's some kind of little mic that you sing into. I guess it's Bluetooth. And remember we had Mr. Microphone growing up and you could sing through the radio. So she, at 4 years old, wanted a mic so she could be twins with pops. Come on now.
Man,
I need to post that picture. I always ask their parents before I post kid pics, right? It melted me in half because I did the show from their house one day and she watched me do it and she sort of connected that somehow. But the whole point is you'll do anything for them if you're in grandparent mode. And mine are still a little bit too young for that, but it's playing It's the third phase of some construction I got going. Some of it will happen this year. When I get ready, there's no company other than Distinctive Pools that I would even consider coming and doing a project like this from the first planning all the way through the whole thing. It'll be done right. It'll look like it's part of your property. It'll integrate well. It'll be the latest systems in terms of care and the beauty of it. You just listen, don't put a cheap pool on your house. If you're considering one, just don't do it. Don't do one of those deals that's just to save money. You'd be better off not doing it because it could detract from the value. But if you are going to do it right. Do it with Distinctive. They'll build it properly. It'll last for years. It'll be something that'll be a showcase on your home, and really seasonal outdoor living, the whole home. It's Distinctive Pools. Gary Levesque's been doing this, and he and his team, he's been at it for over 40 years now, both hardscapes and pools. Let them build you the whole thing, the pool, the hot tub, the outdoor kitchen, the outdoor living room, all that. At distinctivepools.com, distinctivepools.com. All right, y'all. Ox Foundation Solutions ready to help you with all this rain moving around tonight. You might start to see some problems. You can feel water coming in. Even if you have a crawl space, you can almost feel the dampness of it, and you don't have to crawl under your house to figure that out. Let Ox come and do it. They're the experts and the pros that know how to resolve these things, all of the things. Water coming in, crack shifts, mold that can result from that. That's primarily a summer issue, which is why we always encourage you to do encapsulation. It's both a moisture barrier in the summer, a thermal barrier all year, but particularly in the winter, it keeps all that cold air off your pipes and out from underneath your house, seals everything up. You should not have an unprotected crawl space. So if you don't have encapsulation, at the very least, do that. But if you do see signs of shifts or cracks, reach out to them and let them come patch you up. And it's just being a good homeowner. You got to invest in your home as you go along and maintain it. And you don't want this stuff to catch up with you. It can be really, really expensive if your whole house starts to move. So love on it. If you're just not sure, get Ox to come over and take a look. They'll shoot straight with you and get you a plan and take care of your foundation. Ox Foundation Solutions, oxstrong.com, oxstrong.com. All right, here's Samantha in Pinson. Let's keep going with the phone calls. What's up, Samantha?
Hey, Leland. And if it's been touched on, I apologize. But do you think that officer will, I guess, get any flack for, like, having his phone out like he did? Because I feel like they could come back saying, oh, he was distracted.
No, he was clearly not distracted. He pulled off a deadly accurate shot in under a second.
Sure.
He was protecting himself by documenting what happened, and outside of having a body cam, originally I thought they were wearing body cams until we found out about that. But no, it was smart that he did. That's how we know the truth about what happened.
Oh, okay. So they didn't have body cams. That's kind of what I was.
Yeah, and there's nothing that prohibits an officer from also recording what's going on around him. I mean, that's just a public space and common sense. Yeah, but it's it's
Okay,
good
cool.
to question it because they will nitpick and be minute about anything going on this case. Anybody that thinks this officer is a murderer is just free of facts and making stuff up and trying to invoke emotion for their politics, and that's it. That's the end of it. The country is going to move on from this because the country can see this and move on. Minnesota can burn to hell. I don't care, but the country's moving on.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Samantha. That's a good question. Whatever's on your mind tonight, if you got any questions, thoughts, comments about anything, we can loosen up now. I think we've dealt with this and the weather as about as thoroughly as we can with everything going on in the news. 545-9950 is the phone number. Another great service we have here on the show to take care of your home is Douglas Cooling and Heating. We're going to flip again. It's going to be in the 20s next week. We're going back to wintertime. I've enjoyed the breaks, but here comes winter again. Take care of your heating system. You should take care of all sides of your system, the heating and the cooling side with service work. But, man, if something does go wrong in the frigid, cold, sub-freezing weather that's on the way, get Douglas over there, and they'll take care of it. They're just the best. Join them on their maintenance plan and have them keep you tuned up all year without you having to think about it and continually pay for it. Call Douglas.com. These are the folks I trust. They've taken care of me for years and years, 16 years. Call Douglas.com. License number 2017181.